What's up, Michigan? You know what time it is. Welcome back to this week's episode of Hangtime. My name is Lauren Plant, Scoop IPS himself, TJ Kelly. How you living?
Hey, it's great to see warmer weather, you know. Hey, now, and some of the games getting canceled still because of the weather, but I mean, it is what it is. You know, in Michigan, you know, January, you know, it is what it is. Looking forward to March 16th.
There you go. And what makes that significant?
That's the championship games, state champions.
Let's get into this week's paint pontifications. And we want to talk about, right off the bat, number 9 Grand Rapids Northview beats number 3 North Farmington 57-51. Northview 11-1. This again was at the 2K24 showcase at Aquinas College, handing North Farmington its first loss.
Yeah, Brandon Guyton does a great job of putting together these events that are at Aquinas. There is obviously this past Saturday, and again this Saturday here coming up on February 3rd. There'll be another one. But, you know, I think a lot of it has to do with just different matchups. You know, as Grand Rapids Northview, are they ever going to face North Farmington if it's not in the state championship game? I'm happy that the OA Red is a little bit down from what we've seen in the past years. Oak Park has plenty of injuries. Ferndale, defending state champions.
Yeah.
You know, they're younger. You know what I'm saying? They still have a couple of guys. West Bloomfield is still learning the ropes. Rochester Adams still coming and finding, you know, their place. And Clarkston, you know, they're still finding themselves after the lawyers have left. Right. And so, you know, I think it's a great you know, just putting together great matchups. But, yeah, hats off to Dave Channa, the head coach over at Grand Rapids Northview, the Ryans brothers. You know, obviously there are a few other guys on that team. Brady Schwartz is a junior who's just picked up an offer from Grand Valley State. So, hey, you know, sometimes when getting better iron versus iron, you got to find some grit. And that's what's going to make a lot of these teams better, you know, for those long runs, and we'll hopefully see them in the Breslin Center in the middle of March.
Yeah, it's great. We've had a lot of really great matchups at the showcases, and that is going to continue. Let's get into a little Mr. Basketball talk. We've been doing this over the last several weeks, just talking about some guys who, what we call hopefuls, guys that want to be on the list, and maybe these guys would split the vote. We were talking about North Farmington, but Landon Williams and Tyler Spratt, both high D1 guys.
Yeah, hey, well, I'll tell you what, just to have an opportunity to play on the next level is beautiful within itself. Yeah, they're staying in the Great Lakes region right there. Landon Williams is going to go play for Greg Paulus over at Niagara. And then over at Cleveland State, you know, you have Tyler Spratt, who will, you know, hopefully be a formidable force there for the next 4 years, 2024 to 2028. That's a long ways away. Yeah. But yeah, you know, but how much they do a great job of playing with each other, you know, amongst each other, making sure that they're getting touches. Are we going to see either of them scoring 30-point, 35-point games? Probably not, because they do a great job of playing within themselves, playing basketball the right way, where nobody's out there really hunting their shots. Now, do I think that this helps them when I'm going to for a deep run into the state tournament? I do, just because I think that balance is going to be one of the important things in this for the Raiders.
Let's keep it in Oakland County over at Brother Rice. Warren Marshall the fourth, he's going to OU.
Yeah, well, it's his time to shine. As a senior, he's been in the background, playing behind 3 Division I guys last year. Even now, he's kind of being overshadowed just because you have, you know, a player like Elijah Williams, who's, you know, consensus top 10 player in the 2026 class nationally. Right. And there's some other guys. He's had some games where, you know, he's reached that 20-point plateau. Would I like to see him maybe get to a 30, 35-point game, you know, to really accelerate his, let's say this, himself on the map? Yeah. I think that would be what he would need to do. But, you know, again, you have another really balanced team, and so to see him going off for 30, 35 points, it might not happen. But at the same time, if it does happen, that's one of the things that'll help get him on that Mr. Basketball ballot.
All right, and that will be coming up before we know it. All right, every week, TJ Kelly does our state champs rankings. It's our top 25 teams in the state. You can find them at statechampsnetwork.com. Just click on the rankings tab. So we have a segment we call Rankings Rationale, where he kind of defends his position. Warren De La Salle fell from 15 to 25. Now, big win this week over UD Jesuit, but they were struggling before that. Quite a few losses laced together. What's your feeling about the Pilots?
Well, we all know that the Catholic League is tough as a league that you'll find in the Midwest. Obviously number one in Michigan, and yeah, the ebb and flows that you're going to find, and sometimes you do have streaks, skids, whatever you want to call them. And yeah, Warren De La Salle, they did have a 3-game losing streak, but to win on the road at the University of Detroit Jesuit is huge. Just from a mental standpoint. Not only that, UD Jesuit is, they're tough to beat at home. Yeah. Playing on 7 Mile. I've brought it up before, the house that Pat Donnelly built.
That's right.
Pretty much the only team that's had any kind of success there has been Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Mm-hmm. And so with Pilots, only 2 years away from being a defending from a state championship, they've had to find their own way as well. And, I think one of the big additions is having Phoenix Glassner, who is, recently back after an injury that kept him out the first month and a half of the year. Obviously he also had the game-winning bucket last night. So you were watching his progression, and do I see them going through another streak? Well, as long as Phoenix Glassner is on the team, and I think that he keeps on improving, getting healthier, and not only that, his teammates learning to play with him, having an added point guard. Obviously, he's running the show. Yep. Everybody's got to get on board with him, and I think that it's one of those things where De La Salle is they've hit their little blockade right there, and I think that they're gonna have some success going through the rest of the year as guys gel.
Yeah, they'll get over the hump.
Yes, over the hump.
All right, so we talked a little fall, going to talk a little rise. How about Warren Lincoln going from number 5 to number 3 in your rankings? On a roll right now, 5-1 in the MAC White. Yeah,
well, they had Port Huron Northern did a great job of beating Warren Lincoln. I've got to give all the credit in the world to the Huskies. Warren Lincoln maybe got caught a little bit off, but at the end of the day, their win over East Lansing. They've also have some other, this past Saturday, their win over East Lansing down at Cass Tech was huge. East Lansing has been steamrolling teams. The only reason I haven't had them at number 1 is because Muskegon had their number from last year. So it's hard for me to keep them out of number 1. But then Warren Lincoln comes along, and they want to be going out there and handling business. And then you also have Marcus Blackwell, who he came back from injury himself, and so now that he's been playing with his guys for his teammates for the last week and a half, their gelling is starting to come back as well.
Yeah, and remember, every Monday we have those uploaded at statechampsnetwork.com. You can see his top 25, and you can see how there are really good teams that are sitting on the outside of that 25 still fighting to get in because there's so many good teams this season.
Without a doubt. Reese Pupper, they were in my top 25 last year. Travis Ambrose, Travis, you want to go play football at Central Michigan. Jackson Whitaker had a huge game last night. Travis had on Tuesday night. Travis wound up having a triple-double. But yeah, Jackson Whitaker is going to play he's going to go play at Ferris State. I think he's one of the best shooters, a top 15 player in the state. And Andy Brockman did a heck of a job of recruiting him up there. They're on that cusp, and I'm debating with myself, should I put them in the top 25? And I said, let me see how this game versus Muskegon goes. And then they wound up coming with the victory, beating the number 1 team on the road. That's the first time that I talked with Jackson Whitaker. That's the first time that they've won, in Muskegon. So yeah, hats off to them. They'll definitely be in the top 25. God forbid anything crazy winds up happening or something like that, bad loss or something like that, but they'll be in the top 25 come next week.
All right, so what we like to do at this point is talk about what we're calling the Supreme Showdown. This may not always be what might be the sexiest matchup of the week, but it's definitely one that has history and usually ends up being a really solid matchup. Grand Rapids Catholic Central, they're 10-3 overall, taking on 11-4 Grand Rapids South Christian. Both teams battling for the top spot in the OK Gold. GRCC at 7-0 in league play. South Christian at 6-2. GRCC won the first matchup, 57-54. That was at South Christian. How do you see it going this time on Friday night at 7:30? Do you think the winner of that one might crack your top 25?
Well, I tell you what, I was very high on Grand Rapids South Christian to start the season. I have not written them off. I understand that, they were, I think, my number 2, number 3 team in the state to start off the year, the preseason rankings. They had to go make a football run, going from let's say this, your football body to your basketball body, moving from your football wind to your basketball wind is huge.
Yeah, good point.
Does Taylor Johnson, the head coach at Grand Rapids South Christian, does he have their crew, that crew, turned around? I know, Jake Vermas, we were talking about him, before the show.
Yep.
And, he's playing well. You have Carson Viss, he's playing well. When you talk about gelling and winning at the same time, and I'd love to bring up what happened last year with Ferndale, because they were one of those teams where they're 500. Are they going to do it? Are they not going to do it? But when you start seeing teams that gel, it's about, hey, when the lightning strikes, you got to be ready.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things where Taylor Johnson is getting his squad ready. Obviously, Grand Rapids Catholic Central has been there before.
Yep.
TJ Meerman's done a fantastic job. I think that, both of these teams could definitely wind up in the top 25. If it's not next week, then it could be the following week, just because I think they've overcome, or not thinking, they have overcome some of their early season losses, and they've put together streaks, undefeated in the league is huge.
And it's also at home a big test for the Catholic Central Cougars. If they win that game, they're now 8-0 in league play. 6-3 is South Christian. They've pretty much got it on lock.
Without a doubt. And, Fat Brooks, we've already mentioned him as a Mr. Basketball candidate. When you're talking about a guy who can do it all defensively, offensively, Fat Brooks headed to Michigan. He's he can be a game changer within himself. And so I think that obviously, that's the go-to game.
That's right.
On the west side of the state, not this entire state.
That's right. They want to win the OK Gold, so it'd be huge if they can. All right, let's move into our future forecast. Basically, games that are coming up that we think you need to pay attention to. Davison and Grand Blanc are getting together. Notre Dame Prep and River Rouge. And at the 2K24 showcase, a couple of really big marquee matches. Good games all up and down. But number 4 East Lansing taking on number 2 Orchard Lake St. Mary's Saturday night at 6 p.m. Let's start there.
Well, I'll tell you what, Orchard Lake St. Mary's, they're going to be number 1 now. So I headed into this Saturday. I would get your popcorn, get there early. We have the Brandon Guyton has the defending state champions, Cass Tech, playing Kalamazoo Central starting at noon. I would get there early just because that place is going to wind up selling out.
Yeah.
Great games throughout the day. We'll see what Orchard Lake St. Mary's can do. We'll see what East Lansing can do. And that's going to be a huge matchup. You talk about 2 of the hottest teams in the state, prior to East Lansing wound up losing their loss to Warren Lincoln. But it's going to be a lot of excitement, let me just say like that.
All right, and the nightcap, if it doesn't get any better, Big Reds, Muskegon, number 1, or at least at this point, they're still number 1 until they're not. Just fell to Reese Puffer. They've got a big matchup against number 5 Grand Rapids Christian.
Well, this is a great matchup for the sole reason that you don't get to see a lot of bigs playing against a lot of other bigs. Grand Rapids Christian, Nathan Johnson, who's 6'6", he's one of the top unsigned seniors in the state. Jalen Owinga, who's 6'9", headed down to Toledo. Now they get to go against some of the Muskegon bigs who are headed, different areas for football and stuff like that. But at 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", you've got TJ, you've got Powell, you've got numerous other guys out there who can really, let's say this, I think that the rims are going to be rattling just a little bit on that Saturday. Hopefully the Aquinas head coach Ryan Botoya doesn't get too ticked off and nothing like that, and they don't need to replace anything, But fantastic showcase. But that Muskegon Grand Rapids Christian is just as good as any of the other games that are there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, guys, that's Hangtime for this week. Thank you so much for watching. He is Scoop IPS himself, TJ Kelly. I'm Lauren Platt. Again, rankings come out on Mondays. Check it out at statechampsnetwork.com, and we'll have a lot more to talk about next week.
State Champs Hangtime is presented by Lawrence Technological University. Be curious, make magic. Hangtime is also brought to you by the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. The Michigan Army National Guard, proud partner of the MHSAA. And the Detroit Athletic Club Foundation Athlete of the Year Award applications now being accepted until March 31st, 2024 for the male and female athletes of the year. Download the application today at dacathleteoftheyear.com. You cannot be nominated if you don't apply.